The Nature of Prejudice by Gordon W. Allport, first published in 1954, is a foundational text that has profoundly shaped psychology, sociology, and social sciences. Allport, a distinguished psychologist, investigates the origins, causes, and impacts of prejudice, offering one of the earliest comprehensive psychological analyses of this social issue. His work examines how prejudice arises within individuals and society while providing insights into ways it can be sustained or reduced. 1. Defining prejudice, origins, and mechanisms. Allport defines prejudice as an aversive or hostile attitude toward a person who belongs to a group, simply because he belongs to that group, and is therefore presumed to have the objectionable qualities ascribed to the group. For Allport, prejudice is an irrational attitude rooted not in objective evaluation, but in ingrained stereotypes and biases. To explain prejudice's origins, Allport identifies several psychological mechanisms, including categorization, a process by which people simplify complex information by organizing people, things, or ideas into categories. Although categorization is a natural cognitive function, it can lead to generalized stereotypes. Allport highlights that these stereotypes often persist even in the face of contradictory evidence, reinforcing the rigid thinking that makes prejudice so difficult to challenge. 2. Psychological roots of prejudice. Allport examines various psychological factors that contribute to the persistence of prejudice, suggesting it arises from both innate tendencies and learned behaviors. He distinguishes between individual level and social factors. At the individual level, personality influences predispositions toward prejudiced attitudes. One of Allport's key ideas is the authoritarian personality, characterized by rigidity, obedience to authority, and a strong inclination toward group norms. This personality type, often shaped by early childhood experiences, is more likely to hold prejudiced views as it struggles with ambiguity and differences. Another individual factor is projection, a mechanism through which people attribute their own undesirable traits or fears to others. For example, a person insecure about their social status might harbor animosity toward an outgroup, blaming them for their struggles. 3. The role of social and cultural influences. Allport emphasizes that prejudice is not merely an individual issue, but is deeply rooted in social structures and cultural norms. Prejudice is often learned through socialization, with cultural and familial influences shaping a person's views about other groups. Children commonly adopt the biases of their families and communities, which may implicitly or explicitly support prejudice. Group dynamics also play a key role in societal prejudice. Allport describes in-group favoritism and out-group hostility as processes that intensify us versus them divisions. The in-group is the social group with which a person identifies, while the out-group consists of those perceived as different. Loyalty to one's in-group can foster hostility toward out-groups, particularly when there is competition over resources. Conforming to social norms further perpetuates prejudice. Individuals may adopt prejudiced views simply because they are prevalent or accepted within their social circles, even if they do not truly believe in them. Notcher 4. The impact of prejudice on individuals and society. Prejudice has far-reaching effects on both those who experience it and those who harbor it. Allport argues that prejudice dehumanizes its targets, leading to discrimination and social exclusion. This marginalization can harm self-esteem, mental health, and economic opportunities, creating cycles of disadvantage. Allport also explores the psychological consequences of stigmatization. Those targeted by prejudice often internalize negative societal attitudes, resulting in self-doubt and, at times, self-fulfilling prophecies. For instance, a person labeled as inferior might eventually accept this label, which affects their motivation and achievements. Allport calls this process victimization, noting the cyclical nature by which prejudice reinforces itself. For those who perpetuate prejudice, there is often a sense of superiority that fosters arrogance and limits empathy. Allport highlights the broader societal costs of prejudice, which undermines social cohesion and breeds conflict. Societies plagued by prejudice are frequently marked by division and hostility, which impede collective progress. Number 5. Reducing prejudice, strategies and approaches. Allport's work goes beyond diagnosing prejudice, aiming to propose methods for reducing it. His strategies fall into two main categories: cognitive approaches and social interventions. One cognitive approach Allport emphasizes is increasing awareness of the irrational nature of stereotypes. He advocates for education and critical thinking as tools to help people recognize and challenge their biases. By encouraging open-mindedness, individuals may become more tolerant of differences and less prone to prejudice thinking. A cornerstone of Allport's approach is the contact hypothesis, which suggests that interpersonal contact between members of different groups can reduce prejudice under specific conditions. Effective contact should involve individuals of equal status, cooperation towards a common goal, and take place in a supportive environment. Integrated settings, such as diverse schools or workplaces, can diminish prejudice by fostering opportunities for meaningful interaction and cooperation. Social interventions also play a crucial role. Allport calls for institutional policies to discourage discrimination, like affirmative action or anti-bias training within organizations. These measures set inclusive standards and encourage individuals to adopt less prejudiced behaviors in alignment with these norms. The legacy and criticism of Allport's work, the nature of prejudice, has had a profound and lasting impact on social psychology, influencing both researchers and advocates. Allport's theories have provided a foundational framework for understanding prejudice, sparking further studies on implicit bias, social identity, and intergroup dynamics. His work has also influenced practical applications in education, workplace diversity, and conflict resolution. However, Allport's theories have faced criticism. Some argue that his focus on individual psychology overlooks the structural factors that sustain prejudice, such as economic inequality or political exploitation of social divisions. Others question the practicality of the contact hypothesis in real-world situations where power imbalances exist, or interactions between groups are superficial. Moreover, modern understandings of prejudice now include concepts like implicit bias, unconscious attitudes that influence how we perceive others. While Allport acknowledged unconscious processes, his theories primarily focused on conscious biases, leading some to view his work as incomplete for addressing the complexity of prejudice. Despite these critiques, Allport's work remains foundational and continues to be relevant today, where issues of prejudice and discrimination persist. His insights into the psychological underpinnings of prejudice highlight why prejudiced attitudes are so resilient and why efforts to reduce them require multifaceted approaches. Principles he introduced, such as intergroup contact, the role of education in countering stereotypes, and the importance of institutional support, are still central to modern inclusivity and social justice strategies. Allport's exploration of prejudice as both a personal and social phenomenon resonates today, especially in a world of global migration, multicultural societies, and online interaction. By encouraging people to challenge stereotypes, understand their biases, and foster meaningful intergroup contact, the nature of prejudice continues to inspire those working toward more inclusive and cohesive societies.